Hello and welcome to episode 25 of the HamCorp training manual. In this episode, we set up modular combustion at long last, which proves to be extremely powerful. We also push forward even more all the way to Mark II fusion, basically completing the ZPM chapter. Don't mind me just picking up where we left off last time. Currently scanning some LUV parts so I can make the HPCA advanced computation component. And emitters and field gens are two of the components that are a bit problematic with my assembly line automation because I didn't set up the naming stuff. So I put a name mold on my forming press and I repatterned stuff to use that so that stacks no longer get pushed to the same spot. And hopefully that fixes it. We'll see. Okay, HPCA has been upgraded to use the advanced computation components. Now I make 48 computation work units, which means finally I can make my supreme combustion engine. Module. I'm gonna craft this up along with the rest of the structure. I'm actually gonna make probably 6 of these to fill up the modular combustion frame. Oh, 8 of them. And then finally, combustion will feel good. In addition to setting up the MCF and the supreme combustion modules, I also need a couple of other things. First of all, I need distilled water, 500 buckets per hour per module. So I need 4,000 buckets per hour of distilled water. This gives me a 20% EU per tick output boost, which I don't know if that means 20% more fuel consumption too, but I think it doesn't. I think this is just free extra energy. We'll have to see. But I want this distilled water to be sourced locally and have like a dedicated array of distillation towers, or another way you can do this actually is with steam turbines, which means even more power. And I'm kind of leaning towards that. So steam makes distilled water, and this can be really, really fast. The only thing is I'm not really sure how to mass produce steam. I don't know if a fluid heater setup is energy positive. I guess it doesn't matter if it is or isn't because I'm after the distilled water. But I'll analyze that a little more closely. If it's not as good as it sounds, then I'll just go back to the distillation tower idea. But my point is, the distilled water needs to be sourced locally and needs to be dedicated to this thing because I'm relying on that EU per tick output boost. In fact, providing no boost gives me a 10% EU per tick hit, so I actually make a little bit less. That's the modular combustion frame. For each supreme combustion module, I also need 200 buckets per hour of lubricant and 120 millibuckets per second of red fuming nitric acid. This vastly increases the EU per tick produced because look at this, right? The base production is 1 amp of ZPM, but if I supply the nitric acid, it goes up to 6 amps of ZPM, but only at 2 times the fuel consumption. So that's like 300% efficiency. That's a little too good to pass up. This is also something I'm gonna make locally, but it's pretty chill. It's just nitrogen dioxide plus white fuming nitric acid. And white fuming nitric acid is distilled fuming nitric acid, which is a very simple fluid heater recipe. So pretty easy to set up. It's only a couple of machines. This does need 120 millibuckets per second though, so it might be a lot of machines actually. And I'll probably make the first extreme chemical reactor so that I can use parallel hatches. Since the LCR no longer has perfect OC, parallel hatches are superior. And lubricant. Lubricant has uncovered a small crisis. This is all my redstone. Where did it go, you may wonder? It went into netherrack, because netherrack is used for plasma stuff. That's a bit of an issue, because redstone is pretty important. If you don't remember, I get my redstone from these sieves, and these sieves have not been operational for a long time. I did reconstruct them, but I haven't bothered to fix the automation, and it just doesn't work. Basically, they're all off. This is my excuse to finally make a large sieve, which is kind of the multi-block version of this. Well, this is a multi-block, but like the electric, this is also electric, the better version of this. It uses a little less dust, and the dust discount doesn't even matter because there's an infinity dust cell. And I can make this, like now. So I will make that. I'm going to set up some much better sieves here, get rid of these old ones, and that should pretty swiftly solve our redstone issue. In fact, I'm even going to make an ultimate parallel control hatch for 64 parallels. Little expensive, but parallels are powerful. So that was a little rambly. The checklist for right now: fix our redstone situation, fix the lubricant, set up red fuming nitric acid, and set up distilled water. Here it is. The input bus has to go on the top, and the output bus has to go on the back bottom. Now I think, to be honest, I'm just gonna have this running all the time. I can make some mega storage components now and mega bulk item storage cells, and I believe those can hold a lot. I did make 4 16K partitioned item storage cells, but I think I kind of want to do the bulk ones because I can. That way I can kind of justify leaving this on all the time a bit more, because right now these will fill up and then it's kind of just wasted power. Well, it's not fully wasted because the stuff will be cached in the output. But I don't know, I don't like the whole caching thing. I wish I could limit this to make the machine back up and stop using power. Because I don't want to do a whole level limiter with OR gates and stuff. Whatever. I'd rather just spend the power. So I think I will do exactly that. Okay, I have just been informed that the Mega Bulk Item Storage Cell can store 9.2 quintillion items, or max long. So I forget the whole caching thing. It's just going into storage. This is never gonna fill up. Okay, I got my lubricant, my red fuming, and my distilled water set up. The lube is made in this large brewing vat. Fuming nitric acid is made in this fluid heater. It's also a large brewing vat, but it's in fluid heater mode. That is distilled to get white fuming nitric acid, which is reacted in this extreme chemical reactor to get red fuming nitric acid. And I did decide, finally, that I'm just going to distill the water, because I actually don't need that much per second, so this is fine. I did start using level limiter thingies here because I wanted to use ME components for inputs and outputs, and I didn't want to just infinitely create these chemicals because there's no reason to do that. So I just basically set some limits, like 4,000 buckets of distilled water, 100 buckets of red fuming, 1,000 buckets of white. It's just kind of arbitrary, but everything is stored here locally, and then I can feed it all to the MCF and the Supreme Combustion modules. Speaking of which, let's build that. Yeah, the oil building's coming along. This looks pretty good, I think. I decided to put this on the roof because I thought, oh, the smokestacks are gonna look cool, but to be honest, they're too small, which is funny to say. But I left the back open, as always, to be able to expand. I also didn't show the construction of the Supreme modules because they're kind of the same as all the other turbines. I also put down this LSC over here for RS latch stuff. Everything is hooked up. All I need to do is allow the subnet to see hog. So let's do that. Not sure why it's not working. Hello? Don't tell me I need actual rotors in these thingies. I guess that's possible. It doesn't really kind of imply that with the tooltip though, but it would make sense if I needed rotors. Ooh, don't tell me, do not tell me that I also get the rotor multiplication bonus on top of this, because if I do, that's a lot more power. Way more than I'm prepared for. Okay, I'm gonna make a bunch of turbines. In fact, I'm also gonna make the prismalium ones, because why not? I can make this now. And hopefully that allows us to start working, but we'll see. I'm a little scared. We'll see. For Prismalium though, I do need to upgrade coils, and that can be kind of expensive. Luckily, while I was building, I had the foresight to craft a couple of stacks of trinium coils. Just enough to upgrade all of these ABSs. Yep, turbines fixed it. I don't know if I actually need turbines in here though. Don't think so. So cool, I have 2 extra turbines. And I'm making 7.5 million EU per tick. Which does mean that the turbine boost is not being applied. It's just the turbine durability that matters, I guess. But cool. This is pretty good. It's actually quite a bit more than what I'm making with Fusion, I'm pretty sure. Because the Fusion stuff makes, what, 360k EU per tick each, times 7? That's like 2.5 million EU per tick. This thing is doing 3 times as much. That's really nice. The only thing is, it is absolutely drinking my hog. I gotta scale that up. I also need to scale up my ore generation, actually. Or mostly my ore processing and my special ore processing, but I may as well also beef up my generation. And once that's done, we can continue pushing for Mark II fusion, and then the next chapter, which ends with the first Stargate. First, I'm gonna do the ore processing upgrade, and then I'll take a look at all of these, see what I can improve, and then finally the ore generation stuff. So cool. I'm gonna do some more crafting. Things should go a lot faster now that I'm making so much more power, and I'll see you soon. Well, here's the new ore processing area. Much faster. Much faster. Everything has ultimate parallel control hatches. There's 4 of each machine. I've made some shitters. This is a reference to the sitters, which is a reference to the word shitter. So it's kind of full circle. But isn't this so cool? You are contractually obligated to say yes, it's very cool. There are some more speed ups I can do here, and also in ore generation. Ore generation I will look at more properly, but these are, it's just kind of swapping out the multis for the good ones. So there's not really much to show. The main difference is basically that it'll be using parallels, and also the single block will be a multi-block, but that's kind of it. So I'm going to start working towards Mark II fusion, actually. Probably going to start with the advanced neutron reflector casings. Actually nothing new, kind of all stuff we've seen. I'll also make my Naquadria ingots now that I finally can. I think it is exclusively an EBF recipe, so I might have to make more tritium coils. Might not be any getting around that. But that's fine, because I make so much power. And also the trinaquadalloy ingots, that's hard to say. This is ABS exclusive. Well, not exclusive, but this is how you make it. And for Mark II fusion itself, I gotta scan a Mark I, or I gotta research a Mark I, even. Crafting it is actually sort of trivial. As weird as that is to say. And the Mark II fusion coil blocks just need Mark I fusion coil blocks and some ZPM stuff and some LUV field gens. So like, it's gonna use a lot of LUV field gens, which kind of sucks, but it's fine. I think I'm gonna add to these instead of replacing any of these. Fusion does give me a lot of new recipes, so I'll have to look at that. And just like before, I think I'm gonna start off with 4 donuts and then build up from there. I'm missing a lot of tin, which is very surprising. I'm also missing tungsten. That's just because I haven't set up the multi-blocks yet, or you know, the good multi-blocks yet. But I'm missing nether star shards and fish oil. Fish oil is just, I'm full. I don't have space for more. But I think I'm gonna update to the next version, to Theta Hotfix 3, or 2, or 3, whichever one the latest is, because the nether stars needing dynamite specifically has been reverted. So I'm kind of glad that's the case, because it's very hard to scale up glycerol production, and I'd rather just use TNT. That would be so much easier. So I'm gonna update, and I'm gonna get to crafting this FRC. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do it this episode, because it is kind of a big craft, and I really don't know how I'm missing 20,000 tin. Well, I'll keep working on it in the background, but maybe I'll show myself updating these lines and stuff. Look at this weird... This is hydrochloric acid. Don't ask how it's not spilling out. I love so much that you can place these sideways. That's so funny to me. The shitter. Alright, fusion. I want to bring up one little point. My assembly line automation doesn't fully work, and I think there's some jank, or like, I don't know what's causing it. I wasn't able to figure it out. But basically, this storage bus that's supposed to detect when the front slice has something to prevent the push of more stuff, it either like doesn't update correctly or it doesn't update fast enough. I think it doesn't update fast enough, but I'm not sure. So I end up pushing multiple copies of a recipe into the same set of assembly lines when it shouldn't be pushed. So things have been getting clogged a lot. To deal with this, I have kind of a jank workaround. And it's very tedious, but hopefully I don't have to do it for too long. But basically what it is I go to my requester, I set the amount that I'm trying to craft right now, and I set the batch size to 4. So it's basically like me manually requesting 4 at a time. 4 at a time doesn't break because that's how many ask lines I have. That works perfectly fine every time. So I request 4 at a time until I have the number that I want to craft for whatever I'm working on. Which kind of sucks, but yeah, it's what it is. Pretty soon though, I will get the compact assembly line, and I think this should work way better because it can accept stocking input buses. So that's a lot better. Anyway, Fusion. I'm going to put these down. It's exactly the same shape as the existing Fusion donuts, so I'm just going to do it with the terminal. There's no point building them again. And I did read the comments on the last Fusion video, and I did not know that these hatches don't have to be LEV+. That's how it is in GTNH, and I just assumed it's the same in all of Crytek, but apparently it does form with like lower tier hatches, so I'm just going to use LV hatches for all the kind of fake dummy hatches. It could be Fusion casings instead, but I didn't want to wait any longer, so I cheaped out just a little bit. It looks nice though. I feel like it's like decoration. Oh yes, 4 more Fusion. So nice. Now these 4 I've set up to make 2 specific materials. One of them combines arsenic vapor and liquid ruthenium to make darmstadtium, and the other 2 combine liquid gallium and radon gas to make duranium. There's actually a couple more plasmas that have been unlocked, but they don't really have a use. So there's lutetium from before, which is not new, but I just thought I'd mention it again, because with the next reflector tier, I can use it to make americium 245. But currently this isn't passive. Maybe something for the helium, one of the helium plasma fusion reactors to do instead? I don't know. There's also darmstadtium, which I mentioned. This is very, very important because this is the material for UV. This is the main material for UV. So I'm going to need tons of darmstadtium. There's also duranium, similar situation. Duranium is used all over the place. Tin plasma, as far as I can tell, it's used for this in endgame-ish infernal forging recipe. Same with all of the other remaining plasmas. But right now, I think I can only use it for power, which I haven't looked at. Maybe it's a good plasma for power, but yeah, this is like the only use right now. Same thing with argon plasma, same thing with oxygen plasma, and same thing with nitrogen plasma. And finally, I can also make radon gas now with fusion, though I don't really see the point. I'm kind of already drowning in radon. I don't need to do this recipe, so I won't. But cool, more fusion, very nice. And that pretty much completes this chapter. As soon as I solidify some duranium ingots, I'm basically done with this chapter. There's a few things left. There's the crystal socks, which I can make with the ZPM laser engraver. I don't feel the need yet. It does simplify circuit crafting, but I think right now it's actually going to make things slower for me, so I'll wait a little bit. There's this optional redstone variadic interface, which I haven't needed yet, so I'll do it when I need it. It's an optional quest. There's the parallel resource production. This is part of ore generation, which I'll get to probably in the near future, but this is also sort of optional. Ooh, advanced quark tech. The chest plate. This could be nice. Doesn't look too bad to make. I just, I don't know, do I need it? I don't really need it. I guess I can make it right now, just to pad out the episode, but that's one thing. And finally, the most exciting, or I guess there's 2 things left that are equally exciting. There's the bulk blast chiller. This is, I believe, the second best vacuum freezer. So there's still one more, the cryostate quantum chiller, but that's for later. Not that much later, UHV. But the bulk blast chiller is very fast. Parallel hatch and subticks, as opposed to my current best vacuum freezer, which is the Arctic chilling unit, which only has throughput boosting. So BBC is pretty good. Do not clip that. And finally, the CAT. The best acronym multi-block in the whole game. The chambered alloy transmuter. This is a better ABS. It's basically an ABS with throughput boosting. It also takes up quite a bit more space. But hey, it's 2.5 times better than a single ABS each. The only thing is they can't tier skip. It's one energy hatch only. So I will need some ABSs. I'll probably tear down like, I don't know, 10 of these maybe, or 12 of these. So I have 4 left. And I'll replace them with the cats pretty soon. Probably not today, but I will. Which means this chapter is more or less done. Meaning we can move on to making the classic Stargate. I don't know where to start here. I will investigate this and get back to you next episode. Thank you for watching this episode of the HamCorp Training Manual. In the next episode, we will enter UV and look into the requirements for the first Stargate, the classic Stargate. This may require further infrastructure enhancement, which will be addressed as inefficiencies become apparent. See you next time.